Hi guys, you're welcome to Lizama Stitches. My name is Amaka. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please click on the subscribe button and subscribe, and also turn on the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever I upload new videos. In this tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make an off-shoulder sleeve. So let's get started. So this is a continuation of our off-shoulder series. I've done a lot of off-shoulder tutorials on this channel recently. I'm going to leave the link of those videos in the description box below so that you can check them out later. Now this is my blouse. This is the blouse I'm working on. Now for you to be able to make a perfect off-shoulder sleeve, you need your round shoulder measurement. Now the round shoulder measurement I'm working with is 37 inches. Now I'm going to measure the front panel and the back panel to see what we have. Now I'm going to measure the front panel. The front panel is 12 inches and the back panel is 13 inches. Now I have 1 inch seam allowance on the front panel and 1 inch seam allowance on the back panel, which I'm going to use to join the sleeve to the blouse. So I'm going to use ½ inch seam allowance here and ½ inch seam allowance here, ½ inch seam allowance here and ½ inch seam allowance here, making it 2 inches in total. Now the front panel is 12 inches and the back panel is 13 inches. So 12 plus 13 gives you 25 inches. Now I'm going to minus that 2 inches seam allowance, which I'm going to use to join the sleeve to the blouse, and that gives you 23 inches. That is 25 minus 2 inches gives you 23 inches. Now remember that I told you that our round shoulder measurement is 37 inches. Now 37 minus 23 inches gives you 14 inches. So what we are left with is 14 inches for the sleeve. So I'm going to keep this aside. I'm going to draft on my pattern paper, after which I'll transfer it on the fabric. Now the first thing we are going to do is to find the cap height measurement. Now the formula for the cap height measurement is bust circumference divided by 12. Whatever it gives you, add 0.5 inches to it, and whatever it gives you, that's your cap height measurement. Now the cap height measurement I'm working with is 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches here. And the sleeve length I'm working with is 5 inches. So I'm going to mark 5 inches here. And 1 inch seam allowance, which I'm going to use ½ inch to sew here and half the upper part and ½ inch to sew the lower part. So I'm going to mark 6 inches. That is 1 inch for my seam allowance. And I'll connect it. Now remember that we have 14 inches left for our sleeve, so which means we are working with 14 inches. Now that 14 inches is for the two sleeves. Now we are going to divide 14 inches by 2, and that gives you 7 inches. So we are going to use 7 inches for one sleeve and 7 inches for the other sleeve. So for this sleeve, we are using 7 inches. So because this pattern paper is on fold, we are going to divide 7 inches by 2. And that gives you 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches here. Now on this point, I'm going to mark my armhole measurement on this line. Now this is my cap height line. I'm going to mark my armhole measurement on my cap height line. The armhole measurement I'm working with is 14.5 inches. 14.5 inches divided by 2 gives you 7 1/4. So I'm going to mark 7 1/4 here. Sorry, I didn't complete this line. My sleeve length is 5 inches, so I'm going to complete the line, and I'm going to take my round sleeve measurement on my sleeve length line. So this is my sleeve length, this is my cap height measurement, and this is the seam allowance. So on the sleeve length, I'm going to take my round sleeve measurement on the sleeve length. Now the round sleeve measurement I'm working with is 11 inches. 11 divided by 2 gives you 5.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 5.5 inches here, and I'm going to do the same thing on the hemline, and I'll connect it. Now I'm going to connect this point to this point with my curved ruler. Now what we need here is a slight curve. It doesn't have to be deep because it's off shoulder. It doesn't have to be deep. Now I'm going to add my seam allowance. What I'm working with is 1.5 inches seam allowance because I'm going to line it. So I'm using 1.5 inches seam allowance for my sleeve. And I'll connect it. I'll connect the points. Now I'm going to cut it. Now lining your sleeve is optional. You can decide not to line it. You can also line it. But this client wants her sleeve to be lined. That's why I'm lining it. So this is our off-shoulder sleeve. Now with this pattern paper, I'm going to cut the lining and the main fabric. So I'll cut it and show you how to join it. Just keep watching. Continue watching. Now this is what is left from the lace. Now I'm going to use this part to make the sleeve. So I'm going to cut it out and show you how to attach it to your blouse. Now let me show you what I've done so far. Now this is my pattern paper. This is my pattern paper. I've cut out the sleeve. Now this is it. Now this is my lining. And this is the main fabric. I use the satin as the under layer. And now I've sewn the upper part with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to notch. After notching, I'll push the seam allowance on the lining and top stitch. I'll top stitch. Now after that, I'm going to sew the lower part with 1/2 inch seam allowance. After that, I'll notch. After notching, I'll push the seam allowance on the lining and top stitch. I'm going to do it from here. Now after that, I'm going to pull it out from here. I'm going to turn it inside out from here. Now I've done this one. I've sewn the upper part and the lower part, and I pulled it out from here. So now this is my off-shoulder sleeve. I'm going to attach it to the blouse and show you the outcome. I have a tutorial on how to make this blouse. I'm going to leave the link in the description box below so that you can check it out later. So you see the design, very beautiful. So this is the front and this is the back. Now if you found this tutorial helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. Share this video in your sewing groups. Subscribe to my channel to support me. Subscription is free. Feel free to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Lizama Stitches. We've come to the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.